Hello friends, it's time for another video. We're gonna DIY some adorable caddies from, you guessed it, some scrap wood. I'm also gonna show you this awesome belt disc sander that Vevor sent me for free, yes, to try out and show you guys because it's an amazing tool. So let's get started.
So I have cut 4 pieces of wood, 1x. They're all 1x, which we all know they're not exactly 1 inch. They're a little less. They're more like 3/4 inch. But I have one cut at 8 3/4, which I thought I was cutting 9. Okay, I thought I was cutting 10. They ended up 9 3/4. Doesn't matter. You cut them the size that you want, depending on what size you want your little caddy to be. Then I found out of my spindle stash this beautiful rustic piece that came off of a chair. It has this old nail with some of that old rattan from the seat still on it, which I'm going to leave, and I'm going to leave it this color. I'm just going to cut it to fit. So it's going to need to be the width of this because these are going to be the sides, and these will be the ends that stand up. So this will need to go across the top. So I'm going to center this nail in the middle. So it'll be in the middle. It doesn't really matter if it's in the middle. It could be off-centered. That might be cute too. That would be a little bit whimsical. So honestly, however I cut it and wherever it ends is where it will be because I'm not really good with numbers like that. Okay, now I found the center where we are going to attach the dowel. And then I stood this up here to see where it's going to be at the bottom, and then I just drew that line. And of course I'm out in the shop, so I just used this little piece of trim to make the line to see, like, I just guesstimated how wide I want this. Not a lot of rhyme or reason. And then I'm going to go over to the miter saw and I'm going to find out this angle, the closest angle I can, and I'll cut that. If there's not, I'll just get the jigsaw out and cut that.
As promised, I'm going to tell you about this great belt disc sander that Vevor sent me. It is a professional belt sander, 6-inch disc, 4 foot by 36-inch belt sander. It's a 4-inch by 36-inch belt sander. It is a 5-amp induction motor, and it has a little aluminum work table. And I'm going to show you how it works. It has the little on-off switch right here in the front, so it is easy access. And it is out in my shop. It has, you can mount it to a table. It has mounting screws. This is the belt sander part that stands straight up. It also will tilt. Here is the disc sander portion of it with the aluminum work table. It also has this miter gauge that you can use to sand your mitered cuts on either the belt or the disc. It has that little groove, so your little miter gauge fits in either one of them. That's very handy. There is also this little work table scale that will help you to get the angle. If you've cut a 15 to 17, 18, 20, whatever angle you've cut your piece of wood, then you can sand it at that same angle. Very handy and convenient. Now, let's see how this bad boy works. Also, you can see right there on the right, it has the very easy and convenient way to tighten and loosen your belt. It's very easy to get the tension correct on there. This thing works so amazing. You can see there how great it works, and it just makes the ends smooth. You just pop it on there and that's just smooth. And you can do, I'm just getting the little burrs off the edges, those little just tiny little pieces of wood that just kind of burr the edge. Now I'm just going to do the sides quick and easy, just like that. And then you can do, now I have a spindle. Sometimes it's really hard to cut spindles even on the miter saw because they're round and they don't lay flat. Same with this one. This was rounded and I couldn't get this to be flat. You can see how that's angled. I'm just going to lay it down here and then I'm going to get it even. And then I'm just going to take it and barely lay it up against there and get all those little extra pieces off. Now, this is a really cool little feature that I figured out that you could do. I took this spindle and I'm just going to twist it and twist it and twist it up against there and make it round. How fun is that? Okay, and then these are some pieces I cut for our project today for one of our caddies. And look how quick this is. I mean, it's seconds. I mean, I can do this with my orbital sander really quick too, but I've got to hold the wood, I've got to hold the sander, and it would have taken me minutes to do that. Okay, now I'm in the craft cottage. I've got some Farm Fresh paint, and there's that cute little dowel stick. And I painted all those pieces of wood that I cut with my Farm Fresh paint. You can see the very tops of those pieces of wood. I used the sander. I thought I was recording it, and I was not, to make those edges round, just like I did with the dowel stick. Now, I have these rub-on transfers that I got on, I believe, Amazon or maybe Etsy. I can't even remember. I've had them in my stash for quite some time. But you can get some beautiful transfers from IOD. You can get them from on Etsy. You can get them on Amazon. You just have to search for them. And they're very easy to find. Very easy to rub on. Just lightly, gently pull up as you rub, and the image stays down on your project. And then you just take that little carrier sheet and burnish it. And I just kind of rubbed that over my whole entire project and made it nice and smooth. Now I'm going to do that to both of these pieces, and beautiful. I love how these turned out. I love this color of paint. Now I'm going to glue this all together. I'm going to take the two side pieces and with a little bit of Quick and Thick by Titebond. And I'm going to stick these together. I'm going to use some wood, clamps, wood glue, hot glue. I'm getting right up there in your face in this camera angle. And then I'm going to clamp it together so that it'll stay nice and tight until it dries. Now, all together. Now I'm going to take some Big Top by DIY. I put it in that nice little handy squeeze bottle because it just works better for me. Then I don't have to dip my brush or pour it out into something and waste some whatever I don't use. So I'm going to give this inside, outside, the entire thing a good coat of Big Top by DIY to seal it. Now, I'm going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick to adhere my dowel to use as a handle. Now, this is not going to be a caddy that I'm going to be carrying around. It's going to be sitting around for looks, but I do want it to be, I don't want it to fall apart. So I'm going to clamp this down too. Look how cute that dowel stick is. So cute. This, like I told you, came off of an old chair that had one of those rattan-looking seats, and I took it apart and used the spindles, the legs as spindles for a project, and I just couldn't throw this away. And so here is the finished product. Okay, our next little caddy is some of the wood you saw me sanding on my new sander. And it's all scrap wood that I just had out in the shop. And you can see that it's been out there a while and it's a little bit bowed. So I'm going to set it on, instead of putting it inside there where you could see there would be a gap, I'm going to just set it on top so that won't matter as much. So I'm going to use hot glue and wood glue and sit it down on there, press it down really nice and tight so it gets it adheres good. I'm going to do that for both. Then I'm going to do my side pieces. Sorry, I do that for both same technique for both end pieces and the side pieces. And then pretty sure I clamped this one together as well. I did not have clamps for the biggest caddy that we're going to make. I didn't have long enough clamps because it is a big one. So I should have put a little bit of glue on that ends of that first piece of wood too, but this thing is going to hold together. Sorry about my head getting in the way, but I had to see what I was doing there. And then here go the clamps. We're just going to clamp that together really tight. I love my clamps. Get those on. I got them on Amazon, and I'm pretty sure you can find them in my Amazon store if you're interested in getting some. And then I had this spindle from a chair, and just going to place it in there where I want it and clamp it down. And then I did put a nail in that one. And then I took these, maybe this is what I did. I took these little brads. I'm getting myself confused on which caddy I did what to. So I took these little furniture nails and I nailed them in the ends to hold that. Give it a little extra hold and a little extra cuteness. I didn't show that on camera because it shakes my table too much. My camera's on my table. So I got those makeup brushes on Amazon, and they are amazing to apply this DIY wax. It is like spreading butter. Would you look at that? Look how beautifully that spreads that. I do have those linked in my Amazon storefront, and for a set of 5 of them, they are very affordable. And it just makes this so much easier and so pretty. So then I got it all assembled and all waxed. And then I decided I wanted to wrap something around it. I didn't like any of the twine, but you know I love me some canvas drop cloth. So I got it out. I just cut a little strip the width that I wanted, that I thought would look cute, wrapped around here. And I just wanted it to look rustic, so I didn't cut it super straight, and I kind of frayed the edges, made sure the edges weren't real smooth, and I didn't care if it was even all the way around, like I said. And here I am just pulling some of those strings to kind of fray the edges, cut some of those strings off, and I'm just using that Quick and Thick Tight Bond because it's a really good glue and it dries nice and fast. And I'm just going to wrap this all the way around. And then when I got to the front, I thought, I'm just going to make a little flap, kind of a little flap. I'm going to overlap it a little bit and leave a little bit hanging. So I frayed that a little bit, pulled some pieces off to make it a little bit frayed. Not afraid, but frayed. And then I took another one of those little tacks, and instead of hammering it through there, I decided to take the nail part off and then just put some hot glue in there and glue it down, so it's kind of a faux nail. And I think it looks cute. It just kind of ties it all together. And then I decided that wasn't enough. I decided I wanted to wrap some twine around that centerpiece of the handle. So I just wrapped and wrapped, and then I decided to just keep wrapping. I did tie 2 pieces together. You can see that little knot, and I kind of like the way that looks. And then I just tied it off, cut it, and it's done. Okay, our last caddy DIY for this video are some large pieces. So this was a little difficult to film in the craft cottage, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to take weathered wood by DIY. Now, I get all my DIY products from Sammy at Unicorn Dust Designs on her website, which will be linked in the description box below. You can get DIY products, IOD products, Saltwash, and a lot of really cool things over on her website. So check her out. I'm just going to give this a messy coat. I'm not looking for full coverage. I just doing a messy coat. I don't know how else to explain it. Just a messy coat. Then I'm taking Elmer's school glue. This is just plain old bottle of Elmer's school glue. You can see it up in the upper right hand corner, and I'm just brushing it on. I'm doing it thicker in some places and thinner in other places. It was a little hard to spread. I don't know if mine was thick or what, but this works really, really good. So I spread it all over. I do get it all over, and then whatever was in the little cup that I poured it out into, I just used it all up. And we're going to do a crackle effect. We're going to get the crackle effect. So I got it on those pieces really well, and now I'm using faded burlap, and I'm trying to only do one stroke. You know, you have to do it fast, because if it starts to crackle, then you can't go back over it. It will mess it up. So I'm doing faded burlap all over the top. So when it crackles, you'll see some of that natural wood and some of that weathered wood paint, and it turns out really good. The crackle is perfect. This was a very satisfying technique to do. I did take my heat gun and dry it so I felt like that it did a little bit more. So I pre-drilled holes because this wood was really thick. My husband came out and held it for me because it was kind of tricky. And so I've pre-drilled some holes and put some screws in. Now, the piece that I had originally made to go as the handle did not work. So I just had this little spindle in my stash. It happened to be a good length. So I'm taking Aviary by DIY and painting it. And I'm going to paint it with 2 coats and then dry it up with the heat gun. And then I'm going to take DIY dark wax and putting it on with that little brush again. I have one for my dark wax and one for my clear wax. So I clear waxed it. I think I clear wax it first and then I do the dark wax, or vice versa. Yes, I did. I think I'm using a brush on that because I didn't want full coverage of the dark wax. So I'm almost kind of dry brushing the dark wax on. Okay, now I'm attaching the handle. Just going to put a screw in each side. I did pre-drill some holes so that the screws would go in better. And you can see I'm kind of awkwardly trying to get them in there. It's not hard. It just takes some patience because this wood is really thick. And that is done. Now, to cover up those screws, I'm just taking that faded burlap on the end of a paintbrush and just dabbing it on there. And then later, I'm going to take some dark wax and go over that once it's dry. And it doesn't, you can still see them, but it's okay. It just blends them in. Now, to put a bottom in this, I took some of those large paint stir sticks, like for the 5-gallon paint buckets. And I like to cut them when they're still in the package because it's easy, that you can cut them all the same length very easy. So I'm just showing you that. So I cut 5 of them. I'm going to give them 1 coat with faded burlap. All 5 of them, I'm going to do the top and the bottom and the sides and the end, because we are going to create a crate bottom for the bottom of our caddy. So got all 5 of them. I'm going to take that dark wax, and I started out with that brush that I normally always use, and then I ended up with the makeup brush because like I'm telling you, it's like spreading butter. So here they are all finished, and I didn't get on camera that I used these little panel nails, and they were brown, and I pre-drilled holes, and then I hammered all those little nails in to make a crate bottom on this caddy, and I love the bottom of this. It's just perfect, and I love the crackle on this. You can see how pretty the crackle is. You can see that silver shine has gone on the screws, and I just love it. Wow, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. But most of all, remember to be still and know that He is God.